All right, good morning, everybody. We are so excited to have Jamey and Margaret here from Lowery handbags. Y'all have probably seen it. And I met these sweet girls at the Southern Sea Conference and just was immediately taken with them and what they're doing, and not only their business that they're building and their product, which we love, but just their attitude and like just genuine kindness, and also your desire to help other women, which is so fun to see. So we had the honor of getting to sit down with Margaret a few weeks ago, and I just was really blown away by y'all and just your desire to do what you're doing well, but at the same time, just connecting with other women. So we're so excited to have you here today. And if y'all just want to start off and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you met and where the idea for Lowery came from.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That was so sweet. Yeah, actually, Jamey and I are childhood friends. So we both grew up in Meridian, Mississippi. We're actually 2 days apart too, so we were probably in the hospital together. Yeah. So we've known each other. I mean, if I don't remember a time where Jamey, like of my life when Jamey was not in it. So we, went to elementary, middle school, high school, college. We're now cousins by marriage because she's married to my first cousin. So it's really Southern, and our relationship is just fun. But yeah, so being such good friends, I think we've always been interested in a lot of the same things. And then when I moved in 2018 with my husband from Atlanta to Birmingham, and with a new city comes, searching for a new job. And it's just a really stressful process because in a new city too, you get a fresh, clean slate, and you decide, well, do I want to keep on the path that I was going, or do I want to explore something new? And so I would confide in Jamey a lot about that process. And from there, the conversation just stemmed into, okay, well, what are we interested in? What's something that you could see yourself doing long-term? And we've always both been interested in personal style, just because it obviously communicates to people a lot about yourself without you having to say anything at all. So we started kind of down that route, thinking of, well, we've always been interested in fashion. And then, there are a few Southern-based handbag lines or contemporary lines in the South. And then from there, we started talking like, okay, well, I haven't really been seeing a lot of timeless handbags that have a little bit of an edge to them. And then on top of that, we were like, well, there are so many stylish, confident women in the South, and there are not many brands that encompass who that is. And we would love to build a brand around those women. So that's kind of where the conversation started. And then Jamey, of course, was like, well, Margaret, you could do this if you wanted to. Like, why don't you start doing this on your own? And I was like, well, I will do it if you come with me. And so within 2 weeks, she quit her job. And then within that following week, we were off to New York with sketches to meet with manufacturers. So that's kind of the gist of how we got started and of our relationship. But it all just it's just funny how things, happen naturally.
Place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, business.
That was something, starting my own business is something I've always wanted to do, but I just really didn't have the exact thing that I wanted to sink my teeth into. And getting that call from Margaret, I think it took me all of 5 seconds to say yes. And immediately email my bosses, who were amazing at that point, but literally to be like, guys, got to talk to you. And about literally the next week after my 2 weeks notice was up, we were in New York. So yeah. It's been a really fun ride.
Of course, it was no sacrifice to me. I mean, it was, but not in the same way. When she quit her job, I was like, oh my gosh, we're really doing this.
I think she called me 5 times after that. She's like, are you sure? And I was like, I literally never thought about it again. Yes.
Yeah, game on, we're doing it.
And Jamey, you had, when we talked, you've had women in your life, like in your family, that were entrepreneurs and knew how to do this. Was that helpful to be able to make that quick decision?
I think it definitely was. Starting your own business is just about one of the most vulnerable things you can do, is to just really, submit yourself to the process and just trust in the fact that, in the beginning, you're just living off of fumes and is this going to work? And, but I think always having that background of having strong women in my life that have started their own businesses, in retail, and then my family has a business. And from a very young age, I would spend a lot of time at the office with my family, watching my grandmother, run meetings, and I would sit in the conference room. I remember like having snacks and stuff while they were like literally running meetings and things. So it definitely helped. I think it helped me be confident in my decisions, and it still does today. And they're some of our biggest supporters still to this day. So we're
definitely
very
having them in
them.
our back pocket too to ask certain questions. For sure has helped a ton.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I love y'all's partnership. I mean, we talk about this a lot because a lot of times the entrepreneurial journey can be very lonely. And I built Somerset, which is our private advisory practice, by myself. And it was like a celebration when I found Emily, because it takes a long time unless you all kind of know each other, like you know each other. So since you do, it might be more natural, but what would you say to someone that's looking for a business partner? Or like, what do you think that magic is between y'all that makes it work?
I truly think, I mean, we've been friends for such a long time, and I think we just have the utmost respect for one another. We just value each other so much. I think anything that goes on day to day, like say we have differing opinions on what a decision should be. I think at the end of the day, we're like, okay, well, we've got to resolve this because our friendship and the business and what we have is so important. Like it should not be jeopardized. So I think open communication is key. You have to be able to talk openly with one another and be able, be approachable too, I think is a good thing. Just, we have to be receptive to each other's opinions and input, just because again, you're dealing with two different personalities. And although we've always been such close friends, when you add on the business aspect, it's a much different,
it's a completely different relationship for sure. We talk about that all the time. A lot of our really close friends were like, what do y'all do every day? And how do y'all do that with each other? And we get asked that a lot just because we are so close that there is, that much more to lose, if something did go wrong, which, that will never happen, but still, there is so much more to lose. But I think already having that trust in one another and knowing that, I don't ever have to worry about something getting done or whatever, because I know Margaret well enough and I know her work ethic and I know, how honest of a person she is. So we just being friends, you just have to have, and in a partner, it's kind of like being in a marriage. You just have to really have, that certain amount of trust and respect and be willing to talk things out.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely the open communication thing is the most important. You got to be able to be honest and not take things personally, because at the end of the day, it's not personal.
It's not about us.
Yeah. So
yeah. We work with David, who's like our Oz behind the curtain. But he majored in like workplace psychology, so he's always working it. But one of the things that he always says to us is clarity is kindness. And I love that, just because, like you said, if you're working with somebody, you just have to be clear, like have those clear communications. This is what's going on. This is why I feel this way. But then also just like acknowledging that the person that's sharing it with you is doing it to provide clarity, like to be kind rather than to be argumentative. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
We always talk about too how sometimes we feel like it's somewhat of a therapy session too. Like in the morning, if we're having an off day, or we know each other well enough that if there's tension, we're like, okay, what's going on? And then one of us is able to spill our guts, and whether it's in our personal lives or professionally, being able to get it all out there and have someone who, I don't know, it's not going to take it personally, I guess, and is able to give feedback and good advice. Like I think we're able to. It's very therapeutic too, in a way, which
it is.
Half the day we're talking each other off of a ledge. Like, not as big of a deal as you thought it was. It's okay. We're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely, I don't know, for sure is the open communication is the most important piece. Definitely.
Yeah.
So tell me what it's like. So making connections in the South, because you're obviously wanting people to highlight and buy your handbags and you want them to be carried at certain stores. Can you tell we don't know very much about retail or how all this works, but we want to. And so maybe you could just kind of walk us through that process and, specifically pointing to how you make those connections. Because I think we have a lot of small business owners on the calls, and that's how did you become brave, or maybe you are brave. We say that we're not very easily embarrassed, so we'll really ask for anything. But how did you make these connections across the Southeast to make J. Lowery what it is today?
Well, I have to say, we learn this on, I feel like, what is a daily basis, that having a brand in the South is almost like, it's the biggest treat in the whole world, because I don't think we've ever approached anyone that can't somehow trace something back and be like, oh, that's my cousin, or my daughter was a KIO 6 years ago and knew you guys. So, having a brand in the South is like a treat, truly. But I think as far as approaching, Margaret and I are constantly working on, that balance between being personalized and being enough of a salesperson, which was not, I'll be honest, completely comfortable for us. Yeah. Yes. We would rather present, ourselves first than be like, this is our bag, this is what it does. But you have to find that balance. And I think the more that you're putting yourself out there, whether it be on social media or whatever, we've noticed the more that we're doing, the more that we're out and about, the more people are approaching us. So I would just say stay active, stay present, keep doing things, keep taking every opportunity that you're given, because the more that you're doing, those opportunities to get wholesale accounts or to meet new store owners or, expand into different regions, those things start coming to you.
Yeah. And we too, I think we were very blessed with an opportunity early on in our business, which was in the first year that we were part of the 2020 Tastemakers class of Southern Living.
Yes.
That was actually in January of 2020, right before everything shut down, that we were able to meet with this group of women, and it was 11 other female business owners. And some of what you've had on the Wealth Edit podcast, I know Christina Lynch of Meagle and Drina, and Molly Keaton of Red Clay and Babyators. And so we were able to meet this incredible group of women who were so encouraging and obviously want nothing but success for anyone they come in contact with. So just from there, we just started realizing how important it is to build your network, and that your network can never be too large.
Mm-hmm.
So we've met people through those women, and then I guess different, the Southern Coterie in Seattle, and that's how we met Emily, and then how we met Krista Cotton too. So it's, you meet all these people, and then you continue building on those relationships too. And even social media has been so helpful, whether we're able to comment on each other's posts, just words of encouragement, or sending DMs, or, meeting friends of friends. I think everyone just wants to be so helpful. And so once one domino falls, everyone's like, well, I know this friend who will be perfect for you. She owns a retail store in this state that you may not have been familiar with, who would love to carry your bags, or who would be interested in having a pop-up. And it's kind of just jumping at any opportunity, and connection that we're able to. You never know where it will lead you, honestly. So
that's what we say. We're like, there's no such thing as bad meeting. It just doesn't exist, because everything, and that's what's happened with us too. We saw for the first time that Southern Living Tastemakers list a couple weeks ago, and we're like, wow, so many of these women have been on the Wealth Edit this year. And it was shocking almost. We didn't know that was a thing. But
yeah, we said we could support Southern Living and say, y'all chose well.
Yeah, y'all chose well. We agree.
We agree. But I love what you said too about, when my husband died, y'all are going to be like, where are you going with this? But I had this sweet older man who had been a widow for maybe 10 years, and came up to me. He was a friend of mine's dad. And he said, Emily, I want to give you one piece of advice. This is the only advice he gave me. He said, when people ask you to do something, say yes. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, they'll stop asking you. Mm-hmm. And he came in, sat down, and then he left. And I remember kind of sitting there okay. It's probably one of the wisest pieces of advice that I got out of everything. And I have thought about that and reflected on that so many times, because I got in the habit of saying yes when it was uncomfortable. I just would be like, do you want to go with us on spring break? I remember one family asked, and I was like, yes. No, I really, not that I didn't want to go with them, but like, I kind of still wanted to hole up. I wanted to just like be sad and not get out there. And I pushed myself. But now I see it's the exact same thing when you're an entrepreneur. It is, you have to get out there and you have to just say yes. Because if you don't, then people stop asking you. And I mean, people forget about you. And so for us, it's like, we started on the Wealth Edit journey and people would ask us, do you want to? Yes.
Yeah, we do. We want to do that. Whatever it is.
Yes.
But now I kind of love it because it's fun. You really never know, like, sort of exciting. You're like,
what's around the next corner?
Yeah.
Like, we've met so many amazing people too. And even, you know, I feel like just recently we had a store reach out that was like more of a home and gift. And we have only ever thought, okay, well, our bags or their handbags, it's an accessory. It makes sense to be in a clothing store. But when the store reached out and they're in the Delta in Mississippi, we were like, okay, well, let's test it out. Let's see how this goes. And it's been one of our most amazing pop-ups we've ever had. It's just kind of wild how you don't know what can happen unless you do say yes, which is
that is a good word. And to not be afraid to fail, because failure is so temporary. We've said that on a couple of these, but it's so true. Like, we don't ever think of failure as like a big capital F. It's more like, oh, we tried that, it didn't work. Okay. You know, like, we just want to do that again, or, you know, and then it's kind of as simple as that. And I think sometimes we can make it a bigger deal than it actually is if something doesn't go exactly as we had planned. We just kind of roll with that because that happens to us like all the time. Like, oh, well, that didn't go as planned.
Yeah.
Tell me about y'all's. I was looking. I love. Well, I don't know how to do this on the Zoom, but like, all of your different textures kind of like pop out to me in colors. I love that. So how do you decide on those things, like alligator and it looks like reptile and, you know, all these different things that you do? Maybe that's just standard for handbags, but it doesn't seem like it is.
No, I mean, it's not at all. I think really our design is so deeply personal. Like, we truly look at our own closets and we're like, okay, what do we not have? What is missing? Like, we think about our friends, we think about, you know, our customers, our immediate customers, and like, what are they not carrying? What do they not have? Like, what can we give them? And that really is how we start. You know, seasonally, we do a spring, summer, and then we do a fall, winter collection. And obviously we think about the season and we think about what colors would be relevant, what, you know, textures would be relevant at that time. But we really try to be super thoughtful in our design. And we try to think about, okay, when we think about our girl, can she carry this in multiple seasons? Can she carry it from day to night? Can she carry it to a wedding and then to like daycare drop off? You know, like, how functional can we make it for her? So I think, I mean, that goes into our textures as well. We really, like, thoughtful is our word with everything we do. We just want everything to be super intentional. And that trickles from the design to our marketing to every element of our business. And so I think, you know, with selecting textures, we think about, okay, what can she wear it with? Like, how can it transition the best? And that's really how we start to select those things.
And most of the time too, we do lead with color. I think, I mean, we're both very visual people, and obviously those textures and being able to feel something in person and feel the quality of it, I mean, it does help lead the design process. And so then obviously you take into account the colors and if they're able to wear it year round, but and the timeless aspect. I think everyone always, like, for some reason, I mean, like, croc, alligator, python, all those beautiful textiles always come back into style, it seems. And so if we're able, you know, to create those in beautiful colors that are maybe, you know, like a light blue python, like we were just initially drawn to that. And it's obviously been one of our best sellers now, and even year round, which has been surprising. Like, we'll have, you know, around the holidays it blows up too, and you think, well, this does feel spring, summer, but at the same time you can wear it in the winter with winter whites and things. So I think we just take into account what would hopefully stand the test of time, I guess, and how, you know, people can wear those colors and textures and things year after year. So that's kind of where our thought process goes, is when we're picking out materials.
So what is your process? What was your process like to figure out, like, who was going to make these, like, where to source the leather, all of that?
I think from the get-go, it was like we talk about that first flight to New York, right? Like we were just, I mean, we had little work bags and we had a few drawings in there. And I mean, it was really just, bare bones, but we just went in like sponges, and we were like, we're going to meet with every single person that will like open their door to us. And we're going to absorb and take notes on everything. I think we took 750 photos that weekend. And we just, we really went into it just like we have to educate ourselves. And it was the same with choosing to manufacture domestically. All of our bags are made in New York. And we really wanted it to be a place that Margaret and I could easily jump on a flight, which we haven't done in a while, but could easily jump on a flight, check in, see how they're doing things, like watch these bags physically be handmade so that we could learn from them. That decision alone to, keep it domestic, keep it in the US has been invaluable to our brand. A lot of people really like it. We tell them that they're made in New York and that they're made in the US, and, they're all about that, which we love. But also, I mean, just being able to learn and have that hands-on approach, I mean, we couldn't have done it without that. So now it's, been monumental to our growth and to our forward thinking, like to our future, as far as what we have planned. We needed that time and that really hands-on approach.
It took a lot of research in the beginning, and obviously we selected New York because it's like the fashion capital of the US. And so we found a list of manufacturers, and then once we got on the door to meet or set up these meetings, they would give us, some recommendations of, well, this, supplier of leather is fantastic. Everything comes from Italy. Y'all should set up a meeting with them. And so it was a domino effect there too, of how we were able to meet even more people than we were, or find out about more people than we were able to just with our Google research. But yeah, just the domestic aspect, it's been, especially after COVID too, knowing where our money is going and that we're helping, stimulate the economy here with having that personal connection and seeing who we're helping, like all the seamstresses and, all the makers there. It's been a very big perk, I would say, in the past year that we didn't have a ton of wait time for bags to come from overseas. But
that's so interesting. Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I want to get to this and have time to talk about it. But I know that y'all feel very passionate about like connecting with other women and encouraging one another, which seems to be just a theme throughout everything y'all talked about. And, sort of like you said, how important it was to have somebody look at you and say, like, you can do this. Lauren, everybody knows Lauren did that for me. And, it makes all the difference in the world. But so now y'all I know that you met with a sorority and like some younger girls and shared with them. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Margaret and I went to Ole Miss, and we were co's while we were there. So they recently reached out to us and asked us to kind of pop on a Zoom call and talk with them. And it's something that Margaret and I were so excited about because we've really been talking about this a lot. We've always had obviously super supportive family and friends. And so, when we were like very timidly telling them, I think we're going to start a business together, everyone was just completely on board from, day one. We've always had that support system, but it wasn't something that we immediately thought we could do. And I don't think things have changed a little bit, but, even thinking back to, major choice in college, and if we always think like if we would have gotten started a little bit earlier, what difference would it have made? So it's really important to us just because we have had such a amazing support system and we have one another to encourage each other. It is really important for us to spread that message. So when we got to speak with the girls at Ole Miss, the co's at Ole Miss, it was just a really eye-opening experience for us, and we're now really trying to think about how we can kind of roll that into something that we can execute at multiple campuses and, through different, programs. But we just want to let girls know like how it can be done, kind of the ins and outs, and, however we can help them and support them. It's really important to us to kind of spread that entrepreneurial spirit and let them know that it can be done if you have the drive and, you have the support system. It's something that they can do.
I think, like most of y'all here too, you wouldn't be where you are without the encouragement of other women too, and the help. And it took, my previous employer and working under two female founders in Atlanta and watching them build a business from the ground up too, and them seeing the potential in me and my capabilities for me to be like, okay, yeah, I could totally do this too. And then obviously having Jamey, us being able to encourage one another. But I think you can never start telling girls that at too young of an age, I guess.
Right.
And so if we can tap into that a little bit earlier, I just think it'd be so beneficial. Obviously with social media, they're exposed to so many more female founded businesses. So it doesn't seem like it's too far out of reach. But again, hopefully building a personal connection with some of these girls and having them, being accessible to them and having them be able to reach out to us to ask questions would, further encourage that. So that's something that we definitely want to incorporate in the future, if we can. So
yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it really is. It just takes someone saying like, you can do this. So many people have done that for me in my career, and you need that little boost just to maybe tip you over the confidence edge to just take that brave step. And it sounds like y'all are doing that. And then people need to be able to see, particularly women, that there's someone ahead of them that's already blazed this trail. So like, they can contribute to it too. I think that's important for women. That's what we try to do in financial services, because we have terrible statistics for women in our industry, just, people not wanting to be a part of it. And really, it's a wonderful job for women. So I try to encourage women, we do as much as we can, to just hop in there too, because there's enough space for other creatives. There's enough space for other, female financial advisors to do well. If you have that mindset, it just, a rising tide raises all boats. So now this.
So y'all are doing a fantastic job already. So
wow. Thank you so much. Well, this is our favorite question. It's the one we saved till the end, but why did you say yes to the Wealth Edit? Thank you for being on here.
Why would we not?
After meeting, we discovered so many amazing brands too on your podcast, and discovered so many amazing women through what y'all are doing. And I think after we met Emily too at the Southern Coder, it was a no-brainer. We want to further help y'all's agenda in encouraging women and tapping into that spark of entrepreneurship and being that support system for everyone. So I think we are fully behind everything that y'all do. And so if we can contribute to that in any way, we're all in for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
so
guys.
awesome.
I know we have loved having you. We've been waiting for a long time, so we're excited to have you. And how can people find your bags online?
Mm-hmm.
They can find us at shopjlowery.com. And our Instagram handle is the same. We'd love for you to keep up with us, and
at Shop J Lowery.
Yes.
And then look, we have as far as handbags go, we have a list of wholesalers. If we're in your area, stop by those stores and support them too. But look them up, and
I want the one that's called Emily with the
she's a fun one.
she's very good.
Yeah.
That one is really, really
I
cute.
really want that one. That's the one I want.
I know.
All right. Thank y'all so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.